The pen is the tool of the journalist. This program is called Pens Down because this is where the newsmakers and presenters become the news. This is where the news presenters and reporters become the newsmakers. Today, we are coming to you with one more exciting conversation. I have a colleague join me from Ghana. He has done journalism for almost 10 years now. He worked mainly with Ghana's broadcaster, the state broadcaster, GBC, that's the radio arm. Currently, he is head of MCR News and Documentaries at PENT TV. PENT TV is the official television station for the Church of Pentecost, which is the biggest Pentecostal brand or Christian brand in Ghana. It is the only religious denomination in Ghana with the biggest following, at least by national census figures. My guest today is Daniel Kwabena Mantey. Thanks for joining me, sir.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, great. Now, there are several professions. What would make you fall in love with journalism? How did you discover the journalist in you?
I like this question. Thank you. I have to be very honest with you. Journalism initially was not something I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I've always been grateful to the man who discovered me. That is Mr. Ajawu of Unique FM, the GBC.
All right.
In fact, initially, I wanted to go into business as an entrepreneur. So that's what I really wanted to do.
Okay.
But along the line, people kept telling me, oh, they thought I had a good voice to go into journalism, to do some form of broadcasting. Yeah. So why don't I go into it? I never bought the idea because I have seen journalism as a profession that really didn't pay then. You know, so I really didn't want to go into it. Maybe because I didn't really understand then. So I accompanied a friend to GBC some time back, the state broadcaster, to help with the production of a jingle. And in the course of the production, the head of the then Unique FM, the radio arm of GBC, entered and saw what we were doing. And he was very excited about myself, a young man who had that voice and passion for it. So he asked, what are you doing currently? I told him I was into some form of business. He said, no, you have a good voice. Even if you don't want to go full time into journalism, you could come and help with broadcasting and presenting and all that.
Okay.
I didn't buy into the idea. But I think after about a month or so, he asked me again, approached me and said, oh, why don't I come to GBC and, do some training and see how it will go? The Lord being so good, just the first week I joined them to understudy the presenters and to help with production. There was an opening for me to join the morning show team.
Okay.
The main host then, Cecil Obodai, had to go on a leave. So there was another guy who was sitting in. So they needed someone to fill the position of reading the newspapers.
Okay.
And I got that opportunity. I did it very well and they were impressed. And that's just how I started the work. So they were like, you are good like this and you've been somewhere. So we moved from there. And they told me that, well, since I didn't have any journalism background, they were going to give me a scholarship and enroll me in the GBC journalism school.
Okay.
So they enrolled me there for free. I went through that training, and that's how I started. And I've loved the work till now.
You said during your submission that you thought journalism didn't pay. Does it pay now that you've experienced it?
For me, I would say yes. But if you ask a lot of people, they will still tell you it doesn't pay.
Yeah.
Maybe because of where I find myself now.
Okay.
Because I'm in a Christian television station now.
Yeah.
The conditions are a bit different
Okay.
If you compare to what our brothers and sisters are doing in the traditional TV settings or the
Okay.
media landscape,
Mm.
The staff will be handled more as ministry workers here
Okay.
than as a standard journalist who is working.
Mm.
So I will tell you that the conditions are good if I should compare it to the others I know of. So yes,
Okay.
it's paying off now.
These almost a decade of practice, what would you say stands out as the most challenging assignment you've handled or you've coordinated a team to execute?
That will be two things. The first one will be the production of a documentary for the church. Now, every year, the church produces a documentary that is meant to give a fair idea of how the church is progressing in other nations. So I became fully responsible for that work about 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
Where I had to be the producer, also the script writer, and more or less direct the entire production.
Okay.
And it's the most challenging work. Why? Because you are serving, I'm talking about over 3 million plus church publics. And the journalists we have within the church alone are more than, we have a lot of them. So you had like your colleagues and people who are even better than you, that you have to work to make sure that at least you satisfy them. So it's a big challenge. But by the grace of God, at least the past 3 years, I can say we've been doing it very, very well, and the feedback has been good.
You have worked in the mainstream media, and now you find yourself in a religious environment, a Christian-based media house.
Yes.
Are there differences in terms of the work ethic, the environment, and everything? Or it is still media? You are still a professional, so irrespective of where it is, the same thing is happening.
There's a lot of difference.
Okay.
There's a lot of difference. Number one, as for the professionalism, it runs everywhere.
Okay.
But with my experience here at GBC, one thing I can say is that when it comes to the ethics, the religious ethics also plays a very key role here, where apart from being fair, balanced, and all that, you also have to consider the orientation of the television station you are working in.
Yeah.
And know which stories, angles you have to sometimes go, because as Christians and the church frowns on it. So when it comes to ethics, the standard journalism ethics apply here, but there's a lot more added to it because of the orientation of the TV station. Again, my peculiar case, and here, one thing is that because we are not business minded per se, there are certain stories and angles that you will not easily get to do. Because there's always that, priority that will go into ministry work before the social work and others will come in. So when it comes to that point and you are not able to adjust easily, you will see it as a bit of a frustration for you and the kind of work you were doing. Because maybe you want to do a lot of human-centered stories. You want to go out there, report on education issues, human rights issues, and the rest. But then the orientation and policy of the TV station will say that let's do this ministry work first before we do the others. And so it's quite challenging to be here and to be able to work as a professional. It's a bit of a challenge, I must say.
Right. Throughout your professional life, has there been any time in the line of duty you were offered something, monetary or material, to take it and compromise the facts of any story you were doing?
I have to say, and fortunately for me, and maybe unfortunately for you, I'd say no. No,
Okay.
but there was a one time where a colleague of mine, he works under me, who was approached like that, and we were ready to actually take the case on. But I think along the line, the man realized who he was dealing with and the kind of media house he was dealing with. So he just backed out. So we've not had, and I have personally not had that kind of cases before at all. Maybe because we have not been pushing a lot of political stories, a lot of, we are still working hard and entering into the main, journalism work.
Yeah.
Where I am, more ministry, but now we have started current affairs, we have started news and all those things.
Yeah.
So maybe because we are yet to get to that point, that's why some of these things are not happening. But even in a small way, like I said, there was just that one case, which did not come directly to me though, but to one of my reporters.
Should journalists be licensed?
Well, I believe that it's important for us to belong to a group, an association, for the purposes of, guiding ourselves, equipping ourselves, and all that. The journalism work is a calling on its own. That's how I see it. And if you look at the actual work we do, and you want to go practically to the work we do, we shouldn't have needed any kind of license to do it. But if you study the fact that there's a saying that if you mensa will be in every society, in every group, every house, you'll find a bad man. So it's important for us to belong to a group where the young ones can tap from the older ones and the more experienced ones, where we can be guided by certain, rules and regulations. So if you look at it from that point, then indeed, yes, maybe we should start looking at licensing journalists just to be able to fish out those who do not, carry the profession as it should be carried.
Let's look at social media. The 10 years you've been here, that would take us back to, let's say, 2013. Through this journey, you've seen what social media has done to the crafts. Is social media an opportunity or a challenge to journalism?
Well, I will see it more as an opportunity, even though I must say that it has also disturbed the crafts greatly. A lot of people have taken advantage of social media to do a lot to hurt the work we do. Sometimes it's not even a journalist who does that, but all those things are attributed to those of us who are into the field. Now, because of social media, anyone without even training just opens a small online media platform and says that now he's also doing some kind of work like that. And with no guidance, just do what they want to do. And social media is difficult to manage them and to control them. These are some of the excesses that social media has brought to us. And that's what appears to be disturbing us and what we do. But if you look at social media seriously, it has done more good to us and to the profession. For instance, because of social media, now we are able to network properly. As I'm here, I belong to some international, journalism organizations. It gave me the opportunity to participate in a number of events, a number of grants here and there. Social media is making us get up to date, current, instant information, things happening. Before we take it to the press, go and print the newspapers, before we prepare and go on radio and all that. But with our Twitter, our X, our Facebook, and the Instagram, our YouTube, instant, in seconds and minutes, it's out there. And if you look at elections, for instance, a lot of these African countries, for instance, have targeted social media because they saw it to be a strong tool used. So, in fact, we can take advantage of social media and rather use it to benefit us the more. Again, a lot of people are watching news on social media more than the traditional TV.
Yes.
A lot of people are taking notes from online news portals and all that, rather than going to buy the hard copy newspapers to read. So in fact, social media has opened up the profession for us. It has opened our eyes to a lot of opportunities, but it has to be managed well, especially because the youth are those that are very active there. And in Ghana, for instance, the youth carry the biggest population. Even where I am, the Church of Pentecost, the 3 million numbers I'm talking about, the youth make up about 70%.
Wow.
So even if I want, if I want to reach the youth of the Church of Pentecost out of 3 million, 70%, and they are all using social media, that should be my biggest and greatest tool. So social media has been good. It has its own excesses, but it's been good.
Your answer then brings a question to mind. Social media has created richer bloggers in Africa than richer journalists. You and I are the people trained to use platforms of mass communication to our advantage for our public information dissemination activities. Where did we miss out such that people with little or no training in what we have seemed to have been able to exact the financial benefits of social media to themselves while we still grapple with the basics?
Again, it goes down to the beneficiaries of a lot of what we put on social media. The youth are those who are active there.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's about time we start looking at how we have targeted this audience of ours. Again, the youth want to see a lot of creative things.
Okay.
They want to, there was an analysis that was done by the CEO of CTFM TV, Mr. Mensah, a couple of months ago. Okay. And the survey he gave out told us that a lot of the youth want to go on social media, but not to, for instance, read just the news, not to, for instance, follow what is happening in Parliament, but they want to watch music, they want to watch football, they want to see news. So, yes, social media is available for us, but our target audience there, the larger group, their interest is not really in the work we're doing, but their interest is in other areas, other entertainment areas.
Now there is this word in Ghana, we call it solid. On this platform, I have gotten various surnames of the same word based on which country the journalist is coming from. In Malawi, they call it logistics. In Liberia, they call it professional services. There's another name they call it Kato. In Nigeria, it's called the brown envelope. In Cameroon, it is called the brown envelope or gombo. And then in the Gambia, it is also called the brown envelope. Now in South Africa, it's frowned upon and it is considered unwelcome in the practice of journalism. Sole in Ghana is the shortened form of solidarity. That envelope bearing money which is handed out to journalists whenever they go for assignments or do some interview with that top figure or whatever it is. What is your take on it?
You know, if you look at the reason why the
Your end is frozen again.
Give out are not anything huge. Sometimes 200 cedis, 100 cedis. I've seen some before. But I have a little concern with how we, the journalists, see the solid and make it a condition for publicizing news. I've been to programs where the organizer, in one way or the other, had difficulties and could not give out solid. And these reporters were so furious that they said they were not going to publish the story because the solid did not come.
The sense of
and the story was not any good thing. So some of these reporters are turning this whole idea of the solid into now a condition. It's like you are paying for the news. You are paying for the story that is going to be published up. Meanwhile, it's not supposed to be so. The solely is like an appreciation. It's not even an appreciation because some of them, the figures that come, you can't even call it an appreciation.
Or maybe
you
because
just take
of
it
where
like
you
that.
sit, we can say it's a Pentecostal handshake.
Even in my case, that is Christian. One thing is that we don't encourage the Pent TV and the Church of Pentecost does not encourage reporters to take solid when we go to institutions, because before you go, Pent TV and the Church of Pentecost will resource you, give you the money you need to go. So they tell us that when you go and they give, that's fine, you take it. If they don't give you, don't insist on it. And that's where the problem is. That our reporters will insist you give, otherwise forget about your story. So otherwise, Solid should be good for all of us.
Now,
it helps you take care of the subject.
I want to have your thoughts on this. The media is a critical watchdog in the society. Now, one of the key things that immobilizes the media is the issue of poor remuneration. Now we are going to look at the media generally, not just where you work. A lot of journalists I have hosted here have spoken terribly about the conditions in which they work. Some of them very, very disturbing. How does a watchdog do its job effectively when it is hungry?
Definitely. If you are hungry, instead of doing the work effectively, you will look for ways to feed.
That's right.
So when you are sent to work to report to the objective, your first priority will be how to get some income, some revenue into your pocket, even as you do your stories. And that's one challenge. It's unfortunate. Even though I've said that my end here, it looks good or better because of the salary scale we are put on. We are not really considered as a journalist working, but we are put on the same church scale. However, it's still inadequate. So I can imagine our brothers and sisters who are on the other side, who are not fortunate like I am even, and how they survive. I've heard unfortunate stories about some journalists receiving as low as 800 cedis a month, and even
some are not even paid at all.
Look at that. How does someone then go to a program, for instance, sees that there is some shoddy work being done in a certain community where money has been allocated for, and is able to objectively report on something like that? The person will not. What the person would do is, as he goes to inquire and he sees that he could get 1,000 or 2,000 cedis by just keeping quiet, the person will be forced to do that.
That's true.
So it's unfortunate that the kind of work we're doing as journalists, we should be paid just like the MPs. We should be paid just like our parliamentarians. Apart from the fact that they will sit and make the laws, we are also a strong force. For example, I sit on the morning show, and a lot of the viewers who call on the show will be like, they say, we the journalists, when we speak, the authorities will listen, government will listen, statesmen will listen, and all that. So we should be speaking for them. We should be advocating for them. Now, how do I sit on the morning show and advocate when my pocket is dry?
That's true.
So it's about time that our employers and even the state finds a way of making sure that we are comfortable in the work that we do. But you see, they begin to do that when they actually see how important the work is. I think that a lot of them, or some of them maybe, have seen our work to only be important when they need us to do campaigns for them, when they need us to write stories that will benefit them and all that. But when we have to do stories against them, criticizing them, then we are seen in another light. It's rather unfortunate, but For me, I think journalists should be receiving the same remuneration, maybe apart from the other benefits of travel and rent and all that. We should be receiving the same remuneration like our members of parliament.
Mm. What experiences would you consider as golden? These almost 10 years you've walked down with your pen and your microphone.
Well, I've had the opportunity to interview some very outstanding people, but number one is my progression.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I started as a technician from here.
Okay.
Grew through the ranks to where I am now. So now I'm an anchor person.
Okay.
I'm also a technician, a producer as well. Yeah. I cherish these moments a lot because I've seen how I've grown through the ranks and remained loyal to the institution. Now, this work has also exposed me to meet quite a number of people. And the best time is when I visited Tanzania and met a young group of girls, mostly girls, who have wonderful voices. They are called the Watoto girls, or the Watoto choir. Let me put it. You should maybe one day search for them and listen to their songs.
Oh, wow.
Great. It was a very wonderful time for me. So my time, this work took me to Tanzania and took me to Kenya, and I also met the Maasais, and these two I cherish a lot. Why do I cherish them? So I was in Maasai and I realized that here that we speak about meat and say meat is not good and all that, you should go, one man is eating a whole goat.
You mean at a single sitting?
Yes, a single sitting. He takes the whole thigh and just put it with a knife and cuts and eats. And the person is celebrated. Yes. I decided to taste their food a bit. It was an experience for me because I started seeing certain things I was not seeing in my country. And I was like, wow, not for journalism. So I actually came with a report. We talked about their food, their dressing, and all that. And the Watoto choir of Tanzania, also another beautiful time, another beautiful moment. I've had a lot of golden moments, I must say. But maybe the most recent one is my encounter with the Israeli ambassador to Ghana.
Okay.
When this, war in
Israel-Hamas issues.
Exactly.
Yes.
We had the opportunity to speak, and she was on my morning show actually.
Okay.
And it was a very solemn moment. It was a time of reflection. To understand the issues on ground. And the ambassador shed tears on the morning show.
Oh, dear.
And you don't often see that happen.
Yeah.
And it made me understand to what extent that war in Gaza had reached and what we should do as a nation and as a people and as even Christians from where I come from.
Yeah.
Ensure that this war in Gaza ends as quick as possible. So I was very happy when the first announcement of a ceasefire came and all that. And we are hoping that it will continue to end. These are some great moments I won't forget in my career.
Right. If we are to go back into time, 12 years, are you still going to choose journalism or it will be something different?
I will choose journalism, and maybe this time around I'll start quick from class one. And making sure I go through all the rest. Because I believe that if I probably made up my mind faster, early, quicker, I should now be at the BBC or Al Jazeera. These have been two places I wanted to really get training.
Okay.
I've been working hard to get enrollment in any of their training programs. I've not been successful yet.
Okay.
I'm sure that if I had started early, I should have been there.
But are you doing journalism for life, or yours there will be divorce at a point?
No, for now, journalism for life. Because that's what we want to do. We want to serve. But now I want to go onto the field the more. At the moment, I'm not. I'm just a field person at certain times. But now I want to go onto the field. I want to serve the people. I want to come be first-hand information on what is happening and tell the stories as they are. In fact, this moved me to open my own online news portal where I wanted to report on the underreported issues in town. The marginalized groups, target them and report on them. I've not been so consistent in it anyway, but that's really where I'm looking at going, that once I leave the office space, I'll now be a field person and it will be for life.
Wow. Wow. If maybe your child or some mentee walks up to you today and tells you, I am thinking about going into journalism one day. Number one, will the person have your blessing? If they will, what will you tell them to do differently from the way you have, approached yours?
Of course, the person will have my blessing, will have my support full time, even if it means financially supporting the person. We will try and see how we can do that. I'm going to ask the person to start from the scratch, to get training early enough. I believe strongly that one thing I lost is getting that, training early as possible. What I did at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation was a much more practical training. It was not an academic one. But I think 2 years ago, I finished my academic, course with the London Institute of Journalism. So this is something I would push for the person to do quick and early now. Because when you have that formal training and that practical training, it opens a lot of doors for you and the networking becomes better and all that. I'm getting those things now, but I wish I had them like 5-6 years ago. I can tell you that maybe you maybe have been interviewing the next GJ journalist of the year.
It's not too late. One day we will celebrate you. I
agree. Yes. I agree. We have started with the Praise Achievement Award, Best President TV Presenter. So now we want to do the Best Journalist itself, so that it's not just about the presenting, but going to do that. It's our aim now.
As you deliver the goods, our prayers are also with you.
Amen. 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 Amen.
Politicians and politically exposed persons are owning and setting up media houses, the political ownership of the media. Does it bode well for our democracy? Is there a reason to be worried, or there's no cause for alarm?
We have to be worried. We have to be worried because our politics is so polarized. We have to be worried because the way we are running our politics, it's always for just the few rich ones. We are not so much constructive when we are even criticizing. For instance, let me use the two political parties. If it's NDC, whatever the MPP says that is good, the NDC will say it's no. And if it's MPP, whatever the MPP proposes that is good, the NDC will say it's not good. So when these individuals then own TV stations, what happens is that the philosophy of the owner always, in a way, reflects the kind of work that media house does. And I don't want to be specific with names, but we have seen a lot of these radio stations and TV stations doing that. So for me, how I wish, if it was possible in any way, no politician should own this media houses. Let's give the media house to the individuals who really want to run it as a business. And again, it comes in and brings in the question of licensing even our journalists. If our journalists are licensed, if we all believe what we have to do, and it doesn't matter if the media house we belong to, and we are all working professionally, following our ethics as we should, I don't think that even now the ownership of the media house will come into question. But because some of us, we are still influenced by the pudi and the shika and the cash,
Yeah.
So when the owner says, go this way, that is what I want, we follow it. And that's where we are. So it's really a ticking time bomb for us. Because it's always these politicians who get to get the license to own these media houses. Hardly will you get a private man going for it and getting it. It's always the politicians. So they will keep owning it. And it will get to a point, if we are not careful, all media houses will be owned by the big political parties, the MPP and the NDC. And that is where the trouble comes, because now the vulnerable Ghanaian would not know what is true and what is false. Because they watch TV A and TV A is preaching this. They watch TV B and TV B is preaching this. Meanwhile, it should have been a common theme running through all the TV stations, but maybe just from different angles. So it's something we should be very worried about.
Has your life ever been threatened in the line of duty?
No, my life has not been. I've been fortunate. I've been fortunate, maybe. But again, it comes back to where I find myself, because we have not moved those areas yet. There's a few undercover stories we have done. The people we targeted did not actually know us. So I mean, we couldn't have been threatened. But I believe that if they knew us, we could have been threatened by now.
What would you say is your candid assessment of the quality of journalism in Ghana today? You've lived through almost 10 years. I'm sure when you started, there was something you experienced. Today, you might be experiencing something different. What is your assessment, independently, of the quality of journalism in Ghana today?
This is a bit of a difficult question for me, but I may have to answer it in blocks, looking at it from different angles. I look at most of the state institutions and the work they're doing. They're doing very well. They are improving. We don't have a lot of issues there. I think that the quality of what the private media houses are doing is where the concern really is. Because these are individuals who are doing their own stories. And sometimes you see that a certain line should not, a certain program introduced, a certain line of journalism should not be pushed, but it's being pushed on the media landscape. It wasn't there like 10 years ago. Now people are bold to sit on TV and to call certain names, to call leadership, to call the state, and sometimes even threaten them. People offend the law, go to jail and come, and they are seen as heroes who have done it, and they have gone to jail and they've been released. So it's getting to a point where it looks like we don't really care about the law, that the law cannot bite us enough at all. That's another worry for me. Are we okay?
Yes, we are good.
Okay. So that's another worry for me. But what I'm happy about now is the emergence of a lot of Christian TV and radio platforms and channels. With my orientation, I am so happy that this is coming. And if the Christian TV networks will not just decide to be ministry minded, but can decide to go mainstream media, even as they do ministry, it will balance, if not diffuse totally, what is happening on the other side. You can imagine if PEN TV, if AGTV, if DLTV, if Apostle, we have over 13 at least that I can quickly mention of Christian channels. You can imagine if all of them are going into mainstream journalism, apart from the ministry work, doing stories, doing politics, doing economy, doing sports with that Christian perspective. I am so sure that that can diffuse what is happening on the other side. Because mind you, the other side do not have that orientation. Yes, they are doing the journalism work and also making profits. But these are TV stations who are doing ministry work, but also occupying the media space.
Attrition in journalism. So many of your colleagues in these 10 years have abandoned the ship. Some of them very highly trained and qualified, but they've left. Some are into corporate communications, public relations, or anything that they think is ready to welcome them. What do you think from where you sit is the cause of this high attrition journalism is experiencing?
Well, of course, always money has been a factor.
Yeah.
From the one we've been talking about the fact that remuneration for journalists is so bad, not taken care of. Well, I've advocated that we should be paying journalists as we pay MPs.
Yeah.
So definitely the money is a factor. It gets to a point in life where you have to take care of family, kids will come in, a lot more responsibilities. And then you realize that even though you have the passion in alone is not enough to take care of the family. Then you are forced to go into this area. So always remuneration compensation for journalists has been is one point. Of course, two is again the passion and the understanding of the journalism work. We've had, like you said, we've had experienced people leaving the scene at a point. Some of them, maybe the motivation to enter was not really because they want to serve, because they don't see this as a calling. Maybe some probably were misinformed that they're going to make a lot of money there. So they entered after 5 years, do so well, and the money is not coming, and they have to change again and look for, where they'll get money. So understanding that currently it doesn't pay so well, but this is what you want to do to support your country, to help your country, and this is a calling. Understanding that, then it means you'll be ready to be in the waters no matter how tight they are. These two things have been the biggest reasons why a lot of people have left. Of course, at a point in time, a few of our people also leave because they discover that that's not really their field. We've had people who entered into it because there was nothing else to do. They thought that is where they could go. But they start, and after 2-3 years, they realize that, they should go into nursing. Some will say they should go into business and all of that. So those ones are on the lighter side. I've had cases like that. A few interns passing through my hands after 3-4 years. I called them. One is now in the military. I asked military, what are you doing as a recruit? So, all the GIG education is gone. So what then informs such a person to go through that line? These ones happen, but the major one, of course, is the goodie.
Maybe my final question.
Right.
Since you started, you've been involved in the electronic media, or rather audio-visual media production, and it's worked. Do you also have experience in, let's say, online journalism or print, or for you, yours is a niche experience?
I like the question because it will tell you something I'm doing recently. Okay. I have been in the audio visual, like you said, from the beginning. I did not try the online or even the print in any way, but just about a month or less, my general manager advised myself and the whole team that we should consider going into the online too. I don't know how the rest have taken it, but I took it very seriously. And as I speak to you, there are already 2 publications that I am about releasing this weekend into the online. So very soon, you see me as one of your best online reporters.
We can only wish you well and pray that God sees you through this new adventure.
Right. Thank you.
Let me pull the brakes here. And thank you very much for your time on PENSDOWN. I'm truly grateful for your thoughts and your submissions.
I'm also very, very grateful. It's an honor to be with another senior journalist. We are copying you and looking at you.
Always a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
This has been PENSDOWN. Here, we talk journalism journeys. It is the only one menu show dedicated solely to putting the CCTV cameras behind the scenes and telling you everything that journalists go through. It can never get better anywhere. If you hear somebody talk to a journalist about what they go through, it might be a one-off interview. But on this show, this is all we do, journalism journeys. Thanks for joining us. We are back next time with another colleague. And here, we'll still be talking about the same thing, journalism journeys. Bye for now.
Bye.
Right.
Thank you very much, sir. I really, really appreciate it.